Hello, Howie. How are you today, pal? Okay?
What up, doggy? I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, and I do think the Mets have had a pretty decent 9, 10 days. I mean, they seem like they've gone about their business pretty well. They got good health updates with Cespedes, even maybe Jed Lowry. It seems like the Mets have a good feel here as we get ready for 9 days. What's your take on that first? Go ahead.
Well, yeah, in that context, it's been fine, but we're all sort of under the supervision of the coronavirus right now. And so um, Robinson Cano has not been around, nor has Brad Brock. And there's only speculation as to whether or not they've been afflicted or have at least tested positive. And so, as long as there's a little mystery about players on any team, you're going to wonder whether or not the virus has taken a bit of a hold. But apart from that, I would think things have gone as smoothly as the Mets could have hoped.
Yeah, indeed. Cespedes looks like he's raring to go, Howie. I'm not sure if you've been out to the ballpark, but he sounds like he's going to DH. He's playing for a contract. That always is a motivating factor. And he seems like he's on his game. What can you tell me about him?
I think
How with the universal DH, it's going to help him. So let me hear about him. Go ahead.
I think you hit everything on the head, Chris. I mean, this is a guy who right now at this point in his career, such as it is, has been built to be a designated hitter. And with the DH part of the National League this year and then maybe permanently, if he can swing the bat, then they'll deal with whether or not he can go first to third or feel any of the ramifications of the serious ankle injuries and surgeries that he's had. So he really gives you a different dimension, only from the standpoint of, and we know about the power, but he stretches out that lineup to where 1 through 9, Chris, they're pretty good. And they might be as close to as deep a 1 through 9 as any team in the league.
100%. They got a good offensive team. And, with DeGrom at the top of the rotation, we shall see. All right, how about Alonso? You can't expect, we all know with the few games, he's not hitting 50 homers. But, I would think, maybe this will take a little pressure off him because he doesn't have to basically match what he did last year. So how about starting the season basically cold in an empty ballpark. He gets fueled by emotion. What's your take on what to expect out of Alonso in his sophomore year? What do you see there?
Well, I'll split that into two parts. So, yeah, there's no pressure to hit 60 home runs now because we're only playing 60 games. But I think you hit on a real big unknown here. And I don't think there's a player in baseball right now who can say with any certitude how he's going to respond to playing in front of empty seats because these guys work off of adrenaline just like you do, just like we do. And look, that to me is one of the great unknowns going into this season. Will any players be compromised, even in the least, by the fact that the environment is going to be so different?
Factor. We'll have to wait and see. Plus the road trips being sequestered. That too. We'll get to that in a sec. All right, how about Diaz as a closer? He'll get a second crack at it, but with only a 60-game schedule, you can't basically, wait out his problems. He's going to have to get the job done immediately because these games mean an awful lot in a short year. What's your take there?
Chris, I think that is going to be the key to this season. Not just Diaz, but if you look at the Mets bullpen at the back end, you've got 3 question marks there. Diaz is one. Is he better than he was last year? He almost has to be. Jerry's Familia dropped 30 pounds. Is that going to make him more like the Jerry's Familia of 2 years ago and beyond? And Dylan Betances. If Betances comes back effectively from the serious problems that he had last year, not only the Achilles, but the shoulder too, you're talking at everybody's peak. That is a great back 3. But if they're going to struggle the way they did last year with injury and performance, then who knows what they've got back there. So if those 3 questions are answered in the affirmative, they've got a good back end of that bullpen.
Really, they only need one of them. I think Betances, if he's good, we all know that he's very effective, so we'll keep that in mind. All right, with the Rojas, new manager, and he's, you can't evaluate him in this kind of season, but he's going to have to, basically right out of the gate, try to win these games, making sure that he puts himself in play in the month of September so he doesn't really have a feeling out process in his first year. Let me get your thoughts there.
I think that's true, and I also think that he's as well prepared for this as he can be, given his background. He managed 8 years in the Mets minor league system. Even though you look at him here, you go, he barely looks old enough to have managed 8 years anywhere, but he is. And he's managed a good chunk of this roster right now. So there's more familiarity between the players and this manager, not only with each other, but about how he's going to run a game than most incoming managers. So I don't think there'll be that much of an adjustment there. The adjustment is going to be the fact that this is the big leagues. It speeds up a little bit. He'll have a good support staff from his coaches, but when you distill it, he is still a rookie manager, and he's going to have to prove himself, just like any other manager in his position.
All right, hard schedule. Last thing, Howie, hard schedule. Tough finish with Tampa there in the middle of Philadelphia, Washington, and all those teams. They have 6 with the Yankees. Tricky division. They'll probably need to win 35 games to put themselves in a spot out of 60 without the added playoff teams to put them in the mix. You got to figure Dodgers, team in the NL Central. There'll be somebody else in the NL Central, 2 in the NL East. Are they capable, in your eyes, all goes well, of going 35-25 with this tricky schedule and a very obviously tricky division? What's your take on that?
Sure, they are. But I almost wonder if the Marlins are incapable of going 35-25, or any team in baseball who might have struggled over the last couple of years. We're getting into uncharted waters here. We've never seen a season like this, not only because of its length or shortness, more to the point, but because you don't know from day to day who is going to be most affected by the virus. Obviously, you can't predict who's going to get sick. You can't predict how players will react as they get deeper into this season. If you're a team that might not be in the race, then are players going to be opting out there as they get closer to the finish line because maybe they're just not comfortable with the situation or the protocols? There are just so many unknown factors here having to do with the virus. I've said this all along, Chris. The governing body in this season is not Major League Baseball. It's not the PA. It is the coronavirus. And we can't predict what toll that's going to take from team to team, which makes any kind of a forecast to me, almost silly.
I understand, and I'm on the same page. Howie, well done. We'll talk to you in the next couple of months. Stay healthy. Thanks for a few. Appreciate it.